You read the title. What is up, guys? It's me, the ALE Double X Prince, and here has been a very anticipated video, and that is what if The Rock never left to Hollywood? Now, I have basically an idea of how I was gonna wrap this up, make it all fit in nicely, but for the most part, uh, I know where I was gonna stop. But if you guys want me to continue from where I stopped at, I could do that. But this is basically what I would do if The Rock never left for Hollywood. So we'll start off in 2003 after he just beat Stone Cold Steve Austin. And around this time, uh, The Rock naturally turns babyface. So he challenges Triple H, but at the same time, Booker T is not done with him. So at Backlash, it's going to be a triple threat match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Triple H, Booker T, and The Rock. What does Goldberg do? He faces Scott Steiner just to give him a quick squash match. Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels continue their feud, and the uh, RVD and Randy Orton feud for the IC belt. That will be a fun match, and just little things like that. But the main event, let's just focus on the main event. And the winner of this match will be Booker T after pinning The Rock. Booker T gets his big moment, and then Triple H is angry and he wants revenge. So at Bad Blood 2003, it's going to be Triple H and Booker T for the World Heavyweight Championship inside Hell in a Cell. Randy Orton, who has just become the new Intercontinental Champion, he has his group with Batista and Ric Flair. Evolution, baby. And The Rock wants revenge against Evolution, and he teams up with Mick Foley, so it's going to be The Rock and Sock Connection versus Evolution. The Rock and Sock Connection win, and they're consistently wanting uh, revenge. The Rock wants to be World Heavyweight Champion again, and then what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Around this time, Goldberg has been on an incredible winning streak, beating guys like Scott Steiner, Chris Jericho, Test, just a bunch of random squash matches just to get him over and get us to remember what kind of star he is. But at SummerSlam, it's going to be an Elimination Chamber match for the World Heavyweight Championship. It's going to be Triple H defending the World Heavyweight Championship against The Rock, Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels, Scott Steiner, because never forget, Scott Steiner was awesome, and Goldberg. So it's gonna be those guys. Um, basically, Goldberg goes cleans house. Shawn Michaels eliminates The Rock. Get people like, holy shit! Shawn Michaels eliminated The Rock. Is that gonna be a future program? We'll see. But Goldberg basically squashes everybody else. He eliminates Michaels, Jericho, uh, Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho, and Scott Steiner, and then that leaves Triple H and Goldberg. Goldberg wins, so the night ends with Goldberg standing tall as the World Heavyweight Champion. Great way to leave people home happy. Goldberg is now your new World Heavyweight Champion at SummerSlam, and then The Rock says that, hey, Goldberg, you never pinned me. I'm the only guy you haven't pinned in that match. So, because Triple H is gone, why don't you challenge me? And Goldberg at first kind of walks away from it. Later that show, Rock has a random match against some guy, let's say Christian, whatever, Rock and Christian. That would be a good match in the main event. And then it ends with Goldberg spearing The Rock and Goldberg grabbing the mic and saying, "You're next." And then at Unforgiven, it's going to be Goldberg versus The Rock. And Goldberg wins, not yet beating The Rock. And The Rock is just like, you can tell that The Rock is not the same. He should be out doing other things, maybe going to Hollywood and like he was promised, but he just started saying no. But on to Survivor Series, where we're going, instead of Shane and Kane being the ambulance match, is going to be Triple H and Kane. This is important later. Um, But Triple H and Kane will fight in an ambulance match at Survivor Series, where Triple H wins, but then Kane comes back to bury The Undertaker, which will lead to their match at WrestleMania 20. More on that later. Team Bischoff versus Team Austin. Randy Orton wins, getting himself over. Around this time, Randy Orton will get naturally over as a babyface. This is important later. And then the main event will be Goldberg and The Rock, the rematch, but The Rock is consistently going after Goldberg, hitting him with rock bottoms time after time without him looking, and The Rock uh, wants Goldberg at Survivor Series, and Goldberg says that he'll accept if The Rock puts his career on the line, and The Rock is thinking like, fine, you got it. And people are wondering like, oh shit, maybe this is the way that The Rock leaves, and so because naturally that makes sense. The Rock around this time was pretty big, so naturally people would think, oh shit, he's leaving, but no. Big twist: The Rock beats Goldberg at Survivor Series. Goldberg's first loss in the WWE. Keep that in mind. So then at Armageddon, we're supposed to do The Rock and Goldberg again, but then Triple H wants revenge. So it's a triple threat: The Rock, Goldberg, and Triple H, where the winner is The Rock yet again. Um, and then at the Royal Rumble around this time, there's no one really left for him, so let's just give him Booker T. The Rock and Booker T could have great matches at the Royal Rumble. So Rock and Booker T at the Royal Rumble. The Rock wins. The winner of the Royal Rumble coming in at number 2, just because I don't want to make it number 1 like always, but number 2, Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels goes the distance, wins the 2004 Royal Rumble, and naturally people are like, oh shit, we're getting The Rock and Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels and The Rock really never liked each other, but it's time to actually give the fans what they want. And basically, the story writes itself how Shawn Michaels screwed over everybody back in the Attitude Era, and The Rock's like, we did it without you, Shawn. No one. Sometimes people will never tell you this, but you were always a failure. The only reason why you were at the top so much because you were constantly kissing Vince McMahon's and Pat Patterson's ass, because that is true. It has been proven by Bret Hart, and we could go personal, we could go as crazy as we can, but this has to be the most insane feud going. And they need a special referee because these two guys are consistently beating the crap out of each other. So a special referee for this match, Stone Cold Steve Austin, because Stone Cold Steve Austin has beef with both these guys. He has beef with Shawn Michaels after losing on the Team Austin Team Bischoff match, and then The Rock retired Stone Cold Steve Austin. So you're like, holy shit, who's gonna win? But the final moment will be like a random, like just the closing segment will be Stone Cold Steve Austin, uh, giving both of these guys a stunner. So that'll be great. So then WrestleMania will look like this. So the opening match of WrestleMania 20 will be John Cena and the Big Show for the US belt, like in real life. Christian and Chris Jericho feud for the IC belt. Randy Orton and Triple H stay split from Evolution, and they compete in a street fight. Kurt Angle versus Goldberg. Goldberg wins, and then Goldberg leaves. Brock Lesnar defends the WWE Championship against Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero wins. Not Kane. Chris Benoit and Rey Mysterio. They compete with the world's greatest tag team for the SmackDown Tag Team belts, if you're wondering what happens to them. And then, of course, Shelton Benjamin and, well, the winners will be Chris Benoit and Rey Mysterio just to have them on, but they'll drop the belts immediately. So there's that. Undertaker beats Kane, squashes Kane like in real life, because that was awesome. And then the main event, The Rock versus Shawn Michaels for the World Heavyweight Championship. With special guest referee Stone Cold Steve Austin, and this will be the 5-star classic that we all imagine. And the winner, you guessed it, The Rock. So The Rock is there, he's at the top, and then it's draft time. So and around this time, Eric Bischoff made a deal where the loser or no, whoever he drafts after they lost Triple H. This does happen in real life. In this draft, Triple H goes to SmackDown because he's done with Evolution, so he can move on. And then Randy Orton, Batista, and Ric Flair, they formed a brand new version of Evolution. Just those three. That's important later. But Eric Bischoff is mad that Triple H lost they lost the belts. Or no, they lost Triple H. Eric Bischoff is pissed. We lost Triple H, but I'm here to make new stars. So the winner, the whoever I pick as a draft, I don't care if it's a woman, I don't care if it's a commentator, I don't care who it is, but whoever I pick will face The Rock for the World Heavyweight Championship in tonight's main event. And sure enough, the match is settled. It's going to be Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit is drafted to Raw, so the main event will be The Rock versus Chris Benoit for the World Heavyweight Championship, but gets interrupted by Evolution, brother. And yeah, Chris Benoit lost his chances. If you're wondering what happens to the SmackDown Tag Team belts, they get vacated after Chris Benoit was drafted to Raw. That's not important, but that'll explain it later. Doesn't matter. Anyways, next up, around this time, Shawn Michaels is not done with The Rock. Randy Orton is wanting to be the World Championship. So at Backlash, it's a fatal four-way for the World Heavyweight Championship. The Rock, Shawn Michaels, Chris Benoit, and Randy Orton, with the winner being Randy Orton after a sneaky victory. But The Rock takes a break once again to go shoot a movie. Around this time, he had to shoot a movie. I forgot which one it was, but The Rock takes a break, and because Randy Orton is the world champion, Chris Benoit around this time is getting over as a babyface. So we do Randy Orton versus Chris Benoit throughout the spring, and Chris Benoit stands victorious. And that's when The Rock comes back, and then we finally get a proper match between Chris Benoit and The Rock for the World Heavyweight Championship, only with the role switch. Benoit the champion, The Rock the challenger, and the winner is The Rock because he is a bigger draw than Chris Benoit. That is just a fact. And people are mad because The Rock just left and then he just came back, and he is booed. He is hated by everybody, and he doesn't give a shit. And Shawn Michaels comes out, talks about how The Rock is just a watered down version of himself. And then Shawn Michaels, like, I came back and I got better. And I'm going to start by taking off that World Heavyweight Championship. So throughout the fall, it's Shawn Michaels versus The Rock at Unforgiven. It's then they fight at Taboo Tuesday. In like a street fight or whatever. And then unfortunately, The Rock doesn't get a The Rock wants to do a team, like Team Rock versus Team Michaels. That's the main event of Survivor Series. Um so the teams are The Rock, Randy Orton, Edge, and Batista, those four. And then Team Michaels, it's Shawn Michaels, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, who was a babyface at the time, and the Intercontinental Champion, Shelton Benjamin. So those four. And uh, the winner is Team Shawn Michaels. Well, the sole survivors will be Shawn Michaels and Chris Benoit. And then and basically they kind of go on and about it. Yeah, The Rock basically just continues his reign. He's still standing tall. That's really what's important about this feud. And yeah, around this time, everybody's just kind of getting over. Edge and Shawn Michaels continue. They start their feud up. Batista and Randy Orton are starting to turn on each other. At the Royal Rumble, Batista eliminates Randy Orton. But that's not what's important. What's important is what happens afterwards. So The Rock is just continuously on a rare tear, just beating everybody. And then at WrestleMania, he is going to face the winner of the 2005 Royal Rumble, The Undertaker. Now, keep in mind, around this time, the Though we haven't, like, the Royal Rumble winner faces a world champion, but they don't say who. They could pick whichever champion they want. That should be the rule. This is where it begins in 2005, not 2004 with Benoit. But uh, The Rock is just cutting a random promo. You hear a gong. Undertaker choke slams The Rock, and it's settled. The Rock versus The Undertaker for the World Heavyweight Championship in the main event of WrestleMania. Now, uh, because Triple H is drafted to SmackDown, he is the WWE champion, not JBL, and he faces John Cena. So WrestleMania 21, we have Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. That match was great. Let's keep that. Edge still wins the Money in the Bank ladder match. We'll keep all six guys that were originally in the match. Batista beats Randy Orton. Trish Stratus beats Lita for the Women's Championship. Kurt Angle beats Shawn Michaels. John Cena beats Triple H for the WWE Championship. And then the main event, The Rock, The Undertaker, who will reign supreme, and the winner, you guessed it, The Undertaker. So, Raw is left without a world champion. Everybody is mad at The Rock. And The Rock just says, you know what? Screw all of you. I'm leaving. Eventually, down the road, the draft, John Cena gets drafted to Raw. Now he's going to be the top champion there. But this is where I'll stop, because I don't think really The Rock should be in the WWE for as long as he needs to. Like, some people say he should have stayed until 2008, 2009. I think this would be a great stop to The Rock, The Rock's career, and then he could come back in 2011, be the WrestleMania host, and then eventually face John Cena. But honestly, The Rock needed just a decent reign, and this could be, honestly, there's nothing more decent than this. This is actually better than I expected. But yeah, that's how I would book The Rock if he never went to Hollywood. But anyways, it's me, the ALE Double X Prince. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And until then, I'm out.